I'm Gemma Lonsdale, psychic medium and life coach, and you're listening to the Happy Psychic Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode of the Happy Psychic Podcast. I am so happy to have you here. You're very welcome. Now, this week we're going to be talking about limiting beliefs. Now, we're going to look at what these beliefs are, where they come from, how they impact us, and also how we can actually overcome them as well. And I've got loads of really good tips that I want to share with you. Now, the reason that I'm actually creating this content is based on something that I have been experiencing in my own life. So I really wanted to share that story with you. I obviously spend a lot of my time on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm posting reels out. You're seeing my inspirational content, some of my readings on there. I have my podcast, so it's clear that I like to talk. The podcast has been going for, 3 or 4 years now. So we're starting to get into the realms of something that is quite established here. And one of the things that I'm really eager to do more of is some inspirational speaking. I want to get in front of people. I want to inspire them to know that actually life doesn't have to be so hard and they can live a life full of fulfillment and full of purpose, and everything can be rosy. Now, obviously, life isn't perfect. Life is never perfect. We always have challenges and hurdles to overcome. But there's always an opportunity for us to really take some lessons and inspiration from the situations that we find ourselves in order to put it to good use in the future. Now, in my situation, I had previously worked in the corporate world. I had been a recruiter for, I was in recruitment whenever I was 21. That was whenever I first went into recruitment. So I was a recruiter and a headhunter for 10 years. I had my own recruitment firm, and I also worked within the tech industry and startups as well as a sales leader. Now, within my career, I had a really successful career, but then I went through cancer. I had my spiritual awakening and I came out of the spiritual closet. And that posed some challenges for me because I was very, very worried at the time of how I would be perceived by people, not just within the working community, but also within my personal life as well and my family. And I have talked about that before on some podcasts as well. So feel free to go back and actually listen to that. Now, I thought that I had actually dealt with all of this. I thought that I was healed. I thought that I was a more healed version of myself than what I actually am, which isn't uncommon. I have seen it in my life repeatedly, and I see it in all of your lives as well with the people that I'm working with one-to-one. And so that's nothing new. That's nothing strange really to me. However, what I had found was there was an event that I was very interested at speaking at, and it is an event within the tech industry locally. And my own limiting beliefs, based on my experiences that I had worked there, and then I went through my spiritual awakening, I had made a lot of assumptions that actually I wouldn't be the right sort of person for that event and that they wouldn't be interested in me. So I had really just made the assumption that that would be the case. So whenever we're looking at limiting beliefs, often they are things that we have got in our head. We've got a thought in our mind that doesn't really come from anywhere tangible. It stems back to maybe some experiences that we had, years ago, maybe something in childhood, maybe something that someone close to us has said, and combined into this assumption then that we are just making that, oh, that isn't right for me, or they won't be interested in me. And I had put a block on actually taking any action on contacting the person that organizes that event, which is incredibly unfortunate because actually I've got a wealth of knowledge and experience that could be really important and inspiring to them to listen to. And I wasn't even giving this person the opportunity to make the decision for themselves. I was already making the decision for them based on my own preconceived notions. Now, whenever we start to realize that we have limiting beliefs, it's one thing being aware of them, but it's quite another thing overcoming them. And I will get on to that as well. Now, whenever we talk about our limiting beliefs, I've mentioned there are a couple of different places where they come from. We can have a limiting belief in one area of our life that isn't impacting other areas, or we've maybe overcome that hurdle in other areas of our life. Or we might have a situation that crops up that really triggers us or would flag that there is some sort of an inherent thought that isn't accurate that needs to be changed and amended. So whenever I'm talking about limiting beliefs, often it is assumptions that we are making based on the thoughts and our own personal beliefs that we're having that are preventing us from taking action or holding us in a position or are sending us in a particular direction that maybe isn't right for us. So it's really important for us to practice self-awareness, and we can talk about that in a second as well. So in my case, I had made the assumption that they wouldn't be interested in me. I had spoken to a friend and an old colleague as well who had said, I don't think that this event is right for you. I don't think they'll be interested in you. So I had taken that on board. And then I thought back to, a conversation that I'd maybe had with someone 2 or 3 years ago, and I had sort of taken that on board. And you know what else I had taken on board that had helped form this limiting belief? My own confidence. It reminded me of the time whenever I was working in that industry and I was experiencing imposter syndrome, which was making me feel like I wasn't enough. And I thought I had overcome that. But really, what I had done was I had removed myself from that industry. I had removed myself from that group of people and built a career outside of that so that actually the imposter syndrome hadn't went away. It just was sort of a little niggle in the background. So now, whenever I've come back to think, okay, well, would they be interested in me? That has been one of the things that has contributed to me thinking, no, they won't be. Let's not take action there. So I have all of these different reasons that I put these blocks in front of me, when actually the reality is they might be very interested in me. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they be interested in me? And whenever you look at your own life, I know that you will have things going on in your life at the moment and situations that you have experienced where you're also having these same thoughts, where you're thinking, oh, they'll not be interested in me. I'll not take that action. Oh, I'm safer where I'm at. I'll stay in my comfort zone. I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm going to be rejected or laughed at or I'm feeling uncomfortable. And actually, the reality is that whenever we have those beliefs, it's almost like we're manifesting into that existence. If we don't believe in ourselves and we don't believe that we have value, why are they going to believe that you have value? We talk a lot about manifestation and like attracts like when it comes to energy. So if I was sitting talking to you now, being all like, oh, I'm not really that confident as a person and I'm whispering and I'm stumbling over my words and I know maybe I look as if I haven't really taken any care of my appearance. Um, would you have confidence in what I was saying? No, you absolutely wouldn't. Whereas whenever I rock up and I'm confident and I'm articulating what I want to say in my message, and you've become aware of who I am as a person, suddenly you can have a little bit more belief in me. But it is the same that we need to have in ourselves. We need to have that belief. We need to have that self confidence. We need to have a good understanding of our own self concept in order to know what we are worthy and to know that actually we can add value to these situations. We need to know that actually we are a valuable person. We do have information that we can add. We can overcome the imposter syndrome or anything where we've been lacking confidence in our career, and we can face it head on. And it will inevitably involve you stepping outside of your comfort zone and experiencing a little bit of discomfort. But this is where the growth happens. Whenever we take that jump and we step outside of our comfort zone, this is where you're really going to start to grow. Whenever you step outside of your comfort zone expands. So that is your new comfort. So just think the next time you can take a bigger step outside of it and experience more discomfort, and that's your new comfort zone. And if you keep doing that, this is where we start to experience self growth. Whenever we think about inherent beliefs that we have, the limiting beliefs, there are so many different places that they can come from. It could be something that you were told as a child. It could be something that you believed, your family believed in. It could be something a teacher mentioned to you whenever you were 10 years old. It could be something that you have experienced yourself and that you've held on to that belief for, a long period of time and never really challenged it. It could be somebody has said something to you. It could be something within your confidence. There are so many different places that this belief or that these beliefs can come from. And it's not often just the one place. It's usually an amalgamation. I talk about the snowball effect. If you think of a snowball at the top of a mountain, so this is your limiting belief, okay? So the belief starts as a snowball. If we place that at the top of a mountain and we give it a nudge down, what happens? It rolls down, but it gathers up more snow, doesn't it? And the snowball gets larger and larger. And then it picks up pace and it's gathering up all of these different things as it's going down this mountain. If there's a crisp packet, if there's, twigs, if there's rocks, and all of a sudden we have a big, ginormous snowball that is full of all of these different things. And that is exactly what happens with our own thought patterns. With our own limiting beliefs, as the snowball goes down the mountain, it's gathering up everything. So that, if we think about our lives, we're gathering up all of these different thoughts and beliefs and absorbing knowledge from different people. So it's no wonder that we end up with a bit of a distorted image on what our capabilities are, how people will view us, and what we're actually able to do in the world. Now, whenever we think of how these impact us, these beliefs can hold us rigid with anxiety and fear and prevent us from taking action. They can also really impact on where we're going to go with life, the steps that we take, the decisions that we make. Are we going to go the easy route? Are we going to go the challenging route? And it can really hinder our self-growth and our personal development. It can hinder the opportunities that are presented to us in future. It can hinder the challenges that we accept in life. And ultimately, whenever we think of it in a career capacity, it can really hinder where we get to. It can hinder what we're earning. It can hinder how we view ourselves as a person. You think if you're going to go for an interview or you're applying for a new position, you'll do your resume, you'll do your CV, you'll have all of that tarted up, and you'll be ready to get on Monster or Indeed or wherever the job boards are these days. And all of a sudden you're looking and you're thinking, oh no, they'll not want me. Oh no, I'm not experienced enough for that. Oh no, I don't earn enough for this job. They'll see it as like, it's too much of a jump. There's so many limiting thoughts. And really what we're doing is we're making assumptions and preventing ourselves from taking action, from being able to get the benefit of what we can really get to. We're making the decision for the people that should be making the decision. And actually what we should be doing is focusing on unfurling those limiting beliefs, changing our thought patterns, becoming more self-aware, and replacing them with some better beliefs and bringing in some more positive reinforcement. So how can we overcome them? So one of the things is that we need to be more self-aware, and being more self-aware can be a challenge. It's definitely a journey. It's something that we can get better at. We're never going to be perfect, but we can definitely get better at it. One of the things that I am really passionate about is listening to other inspirational speakers. I have YouTube on constantly, or I'm listening to a podcast. I have certain people on TikTok that I'll follow that always bring through inspirational content. Instagram is the same. We need to surround ourselves with the right people. If we're focusing on having negative people around us or people that don't really do anything, Brené Brown talks about those people that are sitting not in the arena. They're not doing it. They're not taking the chances. They're not taking the risks. If we're focusing on surrounding ourselves with people like that who are shrinking themselves, you will then find that you shrink yourself in order to fit with their environment, and you will start to adapt the same beliefs and thinking patterns as what they have. If you start surrounding yourself with really positive thinkers, out of the box, progressive thinkers, and you're listening to Steve Harvey, for example, on YouTube, who I think is an incredibly inspiring person. I love some Steve Harvey, and I could listen to the same talks over and over again. But if we have people like that we're listening to, Brené Brown, all of these different people that can bring us inspiring content and positive thinking patterns and can really challenge us to consider our own beliefs, that is a really good place to start. So try and include some time in your week. Ideally, you would do it every day, where you're doing something to cultivate your own positive mindset and starting to give yourself opportunity to be inspired by some of these great people, these, great wisdom thinkers. who can really provide you a chance to learn something new and adopt a more positive and progressive thinking pattern that can help you then challenge your own self beliefs. Now, whenever we become more self aware, which is a journey in itself as well, it does involve us being really honest with ourselves. And that would involve us sitting with uncomfortable emotion and understanding that whenever we feel some sort of discomfort emotionally in our body, whether it's the lack of confidence that we're feeling from contacting that company to do that show, or we're worried about, oh, not having enough experience for that job that we're applying for and we don't want to be laughed at. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, recognizing that the discomfort that you're experiencing is a sign of something to heal. It's like the universe is challenging you to overcome something and to grow in your confidence, or to question your thought processes and question how you see yourself. Whenever you start to feel things like that, and you start to realize that actually it's giving you an opportunity to become more self aware, that is a great place to be. That is exactly where we want to be. And you won't get it every time. Sometimes you will overlook it and you'll be like a steam train without brakes, and you'll be near the end of the track before the thought will pop in your head that, oh, that's why. Oh, I missed that one. I've put that block in there myself. That was a limiting belief. But becoming self-aware helps us to open up to this more frequently. I think actually with the self-awareness, it's just a really good opportunity for whenever you're making choices that you can self-question and think, okay, well, why do I believe that? Or why do I believe that this would be a good decision? Why do I believe that this wouldn't go ahead? Why am I thinking this? How much logic is there in that thinking? Or how much is an inherent belief? How much are we leaning on our intuition? Because ideally we want to have a balance between everything. We want to have the logic, but yes, we want to be able to tune into our intuition as well, and depend on that. Not everything will make sense 100% of the time to the logical mind, but sometimes it will make sense to the intuition. So it's really good to have that balance between the two. Another great thing that we can do to really overcome those limiting beliefs is to start a practice of journaling. Now, I am not a hard and fast journaler, but I do journal whenever I need to. You can do it on paper. A lot of people do it on paper. There's some lovely little pretty notebooks and pretty pens out there. I get a sore wrist from writing. I don't do enough writing by hand. I prefer the digital journal, and that is my way. The reason that I prefer the digital journal is because whenever I'm using my notes or I'm using another electronic way to do it, I can search for keywords and reflect. I'm a very big reflector. I like to reflect back on what I've journaled about. I like to see the patterns. I do a lot of dream journaling. That is definitely one thing that I do journal every day, are my dreams and understanding the meanings in my dreams. But whenever we create space and create a practice of journaling, it really gives us a chance to analyze and pick apart those thinking patterns. What you'll find is that whenever you've got things in your head and you're picking them apart, when you're writing them down, they're almost like unraveling. If you can think of a scarf where you've pulled the end of the wool and it's just unraveling, it's just the whole scarf is coming apart, and all of a sudden you've got this big ball of yarn. And that is exactly what is happening whenever we journal. We're opening ourselves open to have those light bulb moments and those instant realizations that really help us to figure out a little bit more about ourselves as a person. And we might find that we have the solution by the time we have finished journaling. So we have went from going in with this limiting belief, I don't know where it's came from, why can't I move past it, to having a different understanding of ourselves as a person, and a solution at the end of it, and how we can actually overcome that. Now that we've picked apart those limiting beliefs, one of the things that we really need to do is to replace them with positive reinforcements. We can't just let those old beliefs take part. We need to replace it with something more positive, something that's more uplifting, something that is more empowering to us as people. And one of the ways that we can do that is to use affirmations. Now, a lot of people would say that affirmations, you stand in the mirror, you say it 10 times, you speak it out loud. It doesn't always have to be that way. If you're on the metro or on the tube, on a bus, on an airplane, wherever you might be, obviously speaking out loud, people are going to think you're a little bit crazy. An affirmation you can speak into yourself and just repeat the thought. Even if you have something coming up in your day where you're noticing a negative thinking pattern coming in, or you've noticed a self-limiting belief come up and you've caught it, you can replace that straight away with a positive affirmation and just keep repeating it in your thoughts and empowering yourself. It's a really, really good way to replace those thoughts. I love affirmations. I'm a very big person on affirmations, but it doesn't always have to be speaking out loud in front of the mirror. Of course, that is an ideal situation and it's a great way to practice self empowerment. But if you're out and about or you're sitting at your desk in work or you're amongst other people, it's fine to say it into yourself. It's still going to have a powerful effect there. Another great tool that I think is incredibly powerful is manifesting journaling. Manifestation journaling would probably be the proper term. Now, I don't know how many different names there are for this out there. I want to share with you what it is, though, so you have a proper understanding. It's something that I practice myself. So if I have unpicked a limiting belief and I've become aware of something that I've realized, oh, that's holding me back. I've made an assumption there, I need to change. And I've went through all of, and I've done the journaling, I've done, some positive affirmations. Another thing that I do is I journal as though it has happened in that day, and I journal a positive experience around that interaction. So for me, today I have reached out to someone who has an event that I had initially thought, no, they'll not be interested in me speaking at that event. So what I've done is I've actually journaled a positive experience, positive interaction, positive reinforcement for myself of how that story has played out in a much more positive way to reinforce this deconstruction of limiting beliefs that I have been working on doing. So what we're actually doing is we're telling it as it's happened. Our mind is believing, oh, this has happened. This is really good. So we're automatically changing our mindset and our thought process around that and creating opportunities for ourselves. So the next time that we get a chance to take that action or to move forward, we're starting to have more self-belief. We're starting to trust ourselves more and we're having more confidence in who we are as a person. Obviously, this isn't going to be an overnight thing. Obviously, you can see change overnight, you can see positive progression, but change often takes a long time to really happen. Think of it as baby steps. Think of this as a long game. We're not just changing it for this situation or for something in the short term. It's not just about you getting this job. This is about you empowering yourself and having the self-belief that you should have that's going to really take you forward in your career, take you forward in life in some way, and help you to really see yourself at the fullest version of you. See you in your most empowered version, see you as your most positive version. So that is some of the things that we can really do to help us overcome these limiting beliefs, help us understand them a bit better, and help us replace them with something better. And over a long period of time, I am confident if you practice these things and start to build into them, start to build them into your day, you're going to see a really significant progression as time moves on. I hope that you have enjoyed that. It has been great speaking to you today. If you have any feedback on the podcasters or if there's any topics that you would really like me to cover, please bring me some feedback. Please get in touch, reach out to me and let me know how you're feeling, what your thoughts are, what you want me to cover, and I can take that into consideration. I would love for you to rate the show as well. If you've enjoyed this podcast, share it with your friends, rate it, leave a review so other people can have an understanding of what it's all about and if they should invest their time in it as well. And I look forward to the next episode.